Long time no talk. How are you, my friend?
I'm living the dream here in beautiful Cincinnati, pal. How you doing?
Well, let's see. Did you survived Hell is Real on the weekend?
Uh, yeah, well, oddly enough, I was actually in Nashville calling Liverpool and Sunderland preseason
There
friendly
you go.
and was listening to Hell is Real on the drive back. So got to just listen to Jake and Taylor describe it to me audibly, the Dado Valenzuela, Mo Farsi tough guy contest. You want to meet back? You want to meet in the back and actually like never get in a fight because obviously that was never going to happen? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But
yeah. The extended pointing of index fingers at arm's length and all that kind of stuff. Hey, you. Yeah, what about it, you? Hey, we'll go out back. Well, we're already in the tunnel. What about out back? Well, we're already up. One of those kind of things.
Just nonsense, absolute nonsense. And for what it's worth, I thought Cincinnati were just putrid in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, like even though they beat them last year in the postseason, like I think that Columbus most certainly have the hand up in that rivalry. Cincinnati got their moment in the U.S. Open Cup when they were in USL, but I think Columbus, for whatever reason, right now over the past however many years, I think the Eastern Conference Final broke Cincinnati in 2023 as far as that rivalry is concerned. So.
Yeah, I'm down with OPP. You know me. I'm right there with you. Let's look at you busting out the Hobart gear this morning. Look at you,
my people, mi gente. Oh yeah,
man. All right. So last time you and I had conversations, it was before a big ticket item, and you were incredibly fortunate to be able to be a part of Big FOX and their calling of this cup that the world was chasing after. Break down that experience for me. What was that like?
Just like a whirlwind, exhausting, the best feeling in the world. Just like emotionally, physically draining. I was gone for 2 weeks. My wife is close to 9 months pregnant now.
Oh!
So that was fun to sort of leave her incredibly pregnant for 2 weeks. She was amazing and she held down the fort and had some help from family and friends. But just from like a pure commentator standpoint and being able to like say that I worked that specific World Cup, I think I said in a post recently, I was just like, or I wrote a blurb for something and I was like, I hope that this isn't a once in a lifetime experience, but that one in particular will be something that I treasure forever. As my first World Cup, being in the US, Canada, and Mexico, I got to do games in all three countries. Still even now, a month removed from it, at least in terms of my role, like still struggling to find the words and so many stories coming out of it as well.
Yeah. All right. So then hit me with some of your stories. If you were to write your telenovela about the whole thing, what sticks in your head from what you were able to see?
All right. So it was the Japan-Tunisia game, 1000th game in World Cup history.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it worked for us was we went down to the field to go do our hit first when we walked into the stadium. We pre-recorded that around 75 minutes pre-kickoff, and then I think it aired anywhere between 40 to 30 minutes before kickoff in the middle of the pregame show. So we go to do our hit. We're walking back up, and we don't go to the commentary position beforehand. That's the first time that we're seeing it. So we get up there, and there are no fewer than 7 different Japanese outlets, whether it be TV or radio, covering the game. One of the main Japanese television outlets has happened. They sit right next to us, and Monterey was, an open air media tribune, right? So there's no little booth that I have like we had in Seattle or Vancouver. And I sit down at the commentary position, and mind you, we're 45 minutes to kick from this point in time after we record our hit. And I sit down, and they have like a camera, but a massive camera that looks more like a satellite than anything. And I sit down and it's blocking half of my vantage point of the field. The entire left-hand side of the field is blocked. And our tech guy, I looked at him and he was like, and this was like our second or third game in Monterey at this point in time. And we looked at each other and I was like, dude, I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I've been battling with them for the past 3 hours. Like it ain't moving.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So then we get to kick off and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm standing up for the whole game. Right? Standing up. Yeah. I usually stand up anyway, but because it's a media tribune and like I had already done a couple of games, I was like, I'll sit. I want to be respectful of people behind me. So we start the broadcast. I'm standing up. And then as the final whistle is starting, and if you go back and listen to the highlights, you can hear it. I stutter and I don't say turn off the world and turn on the game because Japanese radio behind me is poking me on the shoulder as the opening whistle goes. And it's none other than, and we learned this after the fact, Yuya Kubo, formerly who's poking me on the shoulder, being like, "Bro, sit down." And I'm in the middle of opening the game, pointing to to his TV comrades, being like, "No, dude, I'm not sitting down because I can't see half the field." So then what I end up doing is I basically end up like taking 3 steps back because there was a wall right behind us where they were elevated above, and I'm calling the game 5 feet away from my actual desk, holding my boards like I'm calling an MLS preseason game. And that's how I called the entirety of the game. And like guys from HBS are pointing at me, being like, "This guy, he's the one who's standing." And like, I look at my stats guy and I was just like, "You need to go handle this." Like I mouthed it to him. I was like, "I can't." I was like, "We're in the middle of a game. Japan scored 13 minutes in."
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably my favorite story of the whole tournament.
We were fortunate enough to cover all 8 matches here in town. And to see Cabo Verde draw Spain out of the blocks, for Vizinha to have his moment. He's now heading to Colo-Colo for a 6-month that could add another year to it. To see DR Congo and what they were able to do, to see Argentina, the comeback kids, come back twice. It's just insane. The Egypt game and the England game.
Yeah.
To see those and to see all of these different countries come in, Morocco and Haiti in a dead rubber, and the place was jammed at 68,000 plus, and it was loud. And you know how it is with that roof up high, everything just bounces and comes down on top of you.
Yep.
The loudest stuff, to be able to see all of these different fan bases come in and rep all of their different countries and share their experiences with everyone else. It was one of those special things that you do not forget under any circumstance.
Watching that Egypt game at home, especially since we did the Egypt-Iran game, and like we saw them and they had already known that they were going to be in the knockout rounds like when they entered that game. But I was like, this Egypt team looks so good for the first 75 minutes of that game. Seeing South Africa beat South Korea in the fashion that they did, because I remember being in the hotel that morning and there was a South African gentleman who clearly was repping all of his Bafana gear. And I was like, "You guys got a shot tonight, pal?" And he goes, "They are fucking useless." And I was like, "Brother,
wow.
All you need is a W tonight." I was like, "And you got Sitole back." And he goes, "Don't you mean Shitole?" And I was like, "My man." Sorry, family show.
No, you just gave us the E on a Monday. It's all right.
So it was just incredible knowing what had happened in Mexico City and how the entire tournament was like, that group qualified for the World Cup. Like, is this really what we're about to endure for all of these teams, for, the extra 16 teams that qualified this year, and to see them win and do it in the way that they do it? Like, that was, I think, my favorite sporting moment, was seeing that win. And then Japanese support is incredible. The atmosphere at the Colombia DR Congo game, like, oh my, if I go deaf by the age of 40, it's going to be because of that game. The decibel levels were off the charts.
Yeah. And it literally in Atlanta Stadium.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Really? Well, I mean, hell.
Like I had multiple people slide into my DMs in the middle of the Seattle game, calling me an asshole and like real vitriol for calling it Seattle Stadium. And I was like, "Do you understand that I work for a company and I have to do things in order to retain? Why are you getting so upset with me for not calling it Lumen Field? Like, what's the matter with you?" And of all the things that you're upset about, of the 6 games that I called, that's the one that you're going to point to where I'm literally contractually obligated to call it by the proper name. People are just fascinating.
Well, and I mean, for me, leaving and coming back into and discussing league play, don't think for a second that I'm not going to use that as a work at some moment.
Yeah.
And sit there and go, well, yeah, hey, over at Atlanta State, hey, at Seattle Stadium, hey, at New York, New Jersey Stadium. Now, of course, I'm going to use those as a reference point, but it's kind of a reverse tongue-in-cheek kind of a deal because of what it was for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I slipped. I was in flow state. And we were just referencing the tournament. I said something about the final, and then I and I'm from Jersey and a Jets fan, so
I'm sorry.
Yeah, whatever. I listen, Knicks in 5, baby. I don't need anything else for the rest of my life.
Yes, I figured.
And I was just like, and I said MetLife, and I didn't even get to life. I said
Oh,
New Jersey, New York Stadium. And our stat guy is a huge Knicks fan and also from New York. And he just looked at me and laughed. And he was like, honestly, it felt like you were doing a bit because of how quickly you caught it.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to get a text from somebody over at Fox. Nobody cares. Like, I mean, you can't like repeatedly call it by its name. But especially for those of us who work in sports or attend games there or call games there, it's so easy to like slip up and say that. But I don't know. Anyway, we're digressing off to something that's not.
And this shocks you because so the field of 48. What was your?
Give me 17 of them.
Well, I mean, what your initial thought going in 48? You were cool with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I always thought that there were teams who deserved to be in the World Cup that should have been there and teams who didn't. And so I thought that adding 16 more was going to be a good thing. I didn't think it was going to be as good as we saw. Like, I didn't think DR Congo, Cape Verde, and those types of stories that we were going to get. I mean, it ended up being teams that were outwardly qualified without an intercontinental playoff or anything like that. That ended up being the most disappointing. Qatar qualifies, ends up being really disappointing. Tunisia doesn't concede a single goal during their entire qualification campaign, and they were dreadful. And I'm just like, the smoke and mirror actually ended up being the way that the qualification method shook out in their respective regions rather than the teams who actually qualified, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because Tunisia's group was such a cakewalk in order to get to the World Cup, and they just didn't play anybody for months on end in a competitive environment. And then they got their socks blown off, and then
Hervé Renard, who was like, he comes in after match day 1. He's there for 18 days, and he's like, "Nah, fam, I'm out. I'm not staying."
Absolutely not. Why would you? I mean, that team was Moadou was like genuinely upset. Like, it bothered him to his core. Felt like you would think that this man had Tunisian bloodlines, like how upset he was after the second Tunisia game we called. He was very, very upset with the effort from the Eagles of Carthage, which was bizarre to me.
Yeah, well, and Hervé Renard down to the third button with the gold chain. That's how he's always been wired, no matter where he's been.
Yeah,
whether it's been Saudi or whatever. But then let me ask you this. What about a field of 64, which we know is coming?
No.
It's coming.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I know it is, but like, let's do something. Let's go outside of the offices in Zurich with pitchforks and the angry mob mentality, and just like, let's try to just not have it happen like we did with the Super League. Like, 64 teams is obscene. It's obscene.
Well,
we just had this great thing.
Yeah.
And this is just you would think Gianni Infantino was raised on Wall Street, the level of greed, and like, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that there were two main talking points heading into this World Cup when it came to things that people were skeptical about. Mm-hmm. Ticket prices and the expanded field. Those were the two biggest hot button topics that could have gone either way. DR Congo could have been shit. Cape Verde could have been awful. Uzbekistan could have not put up the fight that they did in their opening game. Like, there could have been a million different things that basically said like 48 teams was an absolute disaster. Ticket prices could have really deterred people from coming out, and it didn't. Stadiums were packed almost every single game,
mm-hmm.
and you just knocked it out of the park. Why would you now go take another big hack after you have a winning formula?
Because you're at the end of TV contracts, and it's a negotiating point for both English and Spanish broadcasts to expand it. And it's also equally divisible when it comes to just having your first and your second teams come out of group stage, as opposed to all of the math that we had to try to figure out the field of 48.
Was that really that big of a deal? I feel like the third place standings, once the second match day was complete, it was pretty easy to see like what was going to get you there and what wasn't, for the most part, right? Like, I think that there was moments where you were just like, is that going to be good enough? Is that not going to be good enough? And South Korea started off those third place standings in like third, and then they just dropped down in the days after that.
And it's booed coming into the airport.
Sure. But the TV rights thing, I totally get, but this is why I referenced the greed, because it's like, anybody coming out of that World Cup, and I know that time differences are going to be different specifically for the US market now. Mm-hmm. But anybody coming out of that World Cup, meaning a network, why would you not pay top dollar for that? Like, it's so blatantly a moneymaker, especially now with the hydration breaks. I mean, Fox makes over 250 million from hydration breaks alone. That number is only going to skyrocket by the time that we get there. I don't see the value in doing it, other than closing the gap on the ticket sales that you were able to garner in the United States, that you won't be able to do so with Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And that from a number standpoint, I can see that there's a gap that they need to close. But I don't know if a 64 team field, the juice is worth the squeeze there. I feel like that's cutting off your nose to spite your face a little bit.
I just don't want them to get to 64 and then do a Tuesday in Dayton. I don't want that.
I just did a Sunday night in Dayton with my in-laws. That was nice.
Look, but you didn't have a field of 64 plus 4 to fill in those spots to take on the number one ranked seeds from Hara Arena.
Tuesday in Dayton, the Intercontinental Playoff. Wasn't DR Congo in Jamaica? Wasn't that the Tuesday? I mean, that was a Tuesday in Guadalajara.
It was. Yes.
So
yeah, and so you end up that. But I don't want a Tuesday in Dayton, Ohio, and a Wednesday to figure out. Okay, so you're going to go see the number one seed here instead of go into that group. But
I get it.
All right, so. How much shopping did you do?
You know something? Not a ton. I bought all of the posters before the tournament, all of these that I was calling games in, and the main poster.
Okay.
Bought a hat for my wife. I bought a hat for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought her a hoodie from Seattle. Because all of the stuff that they had in the in the FIFA fan shops was stuff that you could get online. And from like a scarf standpoint or any of that, I was like, I have the posters. I was like, I don't know, for whatever. I'm usually a big swag guy, but I just didn't end up doing as much as I thought. What do we got here? Argentina,
England, baby.
Oh, you got the half and half scarf.
Yeah, I got the match day.
I got yelled at a Premier League game for getting a half and half scarf as a Yank, and I had a bunch of Scousers who just let me have it verbally because I got that. And I was like, I feel like a World Cup you're able to do that. DR Congo, and don't tell me Uzbekistan.
Yeah, Uzbekistan.
There you go.
Well, because, and that was the thing for me, is that you had a match, and everybody's like, well, what? Atlanta got DR Congo and Uzbekistan. And it's like, why would you want to go see that? And I'm like, oh, no, you do not understand. That is a match on the last day of the group stage. And it means everything to somebody. Somebody's got to win to get in. No, it was chaos, and it was fantastic chaos.
Awesome game.
And so those kinds of things, you got to, Haiti, and who's on the flip side? Haiti, Morocco, of course. I'm still trying to figure out how Haiti's fans got the full bongos, the extra large bongos, and the hi-hats, and all of the stuff that they brought into the stadium. That was some pretty sweet stuff.
I feel like you go into a special entrance, or you get like a note from mom that you're able to do it. Come with it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Was this Cabo Verde in Spain? No, or was this just Cabo Verde?
Where would you get those within the stadium, though?
Yeah, I got them. I got them inside the stadium because it was match day, and I didn't want to risk not being able to get them. So no, I completely enjoyed it.
That's my one regret, is that I didn't get these half and half scarves. But like, I also have this mentality. I know it might sound a little snobbish considering I'm a commentator. I'm like, I called the games. I have the highlights on YouTube as sort of like my that's my souvenir. I was like, spend more money.
Yeah, and here's one before the tournament. Argentina, Iceland from Jordan Hare, where you had 82,000 people at Jordan Hare Stadium watching that one. So no, my Amex was smoking by the end of the tournament.
Well, this is also the same guy who, when the Marta Atlanta United collab came out, that you probably spent
guilty
a small fortune on that as well. So I'm not surprised that the damage was done.
Guilty is charged. Yeah, and that stuff is on order. And yes, the Marta Atlanta collab, I have pieces, and others are being shipped to me. So
do you find yourself in a deep state of depression, not only because the World Cup is over, but because Atlanta United are the worst team in MLS?
No, I view it journalistically, and it's disappointing that we don't have a World Cup anymore. But I'm being as level-headed as possible when it comes to presenting. Look, this is LA law, brother. It's facts and evidence, and I let those who come in say their piece and try and discuss the other points of view here. We do not believe in raised voices. We believe in facts and perspective. And the Twitch pitch has great conversations, and they have the raised voices for the collective. So that's kind of how we do things.
How often do you say that to yourself in front of the mirror every morning in order to make
every blanking day?
Every day.
Every day. I mean, look, this is season 10. You've been with us since the beginning. This is season 10 for us. And, if you can't navigate the difficult times, then, it's you probably don't know how to navigate.
Sports are cyclical, man. They're cyclical. They're cyclical. This funny thing that we love sports. Everybody's going to suck at some point. I
mean, Atlanta and Philly are at the bottom of the standings in the East.
Philly have won a couple of games, though.
And I know, and I think Bradley Carnell, the way that I've phrased Bradley Carnell is that he's the pitcher that you call up from AAA on an emergency start, and he comes in and you don't have a book on him. And he'll go 5 2/3. He'll give up a run that's earned, and he'll leave runners on base. And he'll stay for that stint while the starter that he's replaced is on the DL. And they don't have a book on him, and so he's successful. And then all of a sudden, okay, so he's got an ERA of 3.2 in his starts while our number one starter was away, so we'll keep him up. Second time through the league, you get book on it, and you know how he's going to be. So Carnell in St. Louis, Carnell in Philly, year one, because you don't have book on him because of the people that are there, he's going to navigate and do what he does. Then he gets found out in a playoff setting because you play him more than once back to back. You've got tape on him. And then game 2 and game 3, you can take advantage of what you've seen on tape because he doesn't change with his personnel that's there. And once again, through Philly, that first season, okay, cool. Same thing that happened in St. Louis. Second time through the league caught up with him. And it was just that awful start that he had in St. Louis that got him dismissed. Same thing in Philly. So I think that unless things change with Bradley Carnell, I think that's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone who can get you to a certain level in year one, losing a playoff because it's more than one match. Then year 2, that's when he's got to change. And if he doesn't, then he gets caught up.
I agree 50 to 60% of that.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
St. Louis, I thought he got a raw deal. I think that injuries, Ed Leuven's wife being diagnosed at the time, God rest her soul.
Yes.
And I think that it was just a bad collection of a number of different things, emotionally, on the field, injury-wise. And I remember one of the last games that Lutz Pfannenstiel came out onto the field after they got beat by Dallas, and Kinder and I looked at each other like, this ain't good. I was like, that's not.
But then how much of this is Pfannenstiel and his?
Well, I think that St. Louis, that was all his fault. I think that some of the moves that they made and the way that they were treating players, particularly like somebody like Tim Parker, and like hearing some of the stories from behind the scenes in terms of like what was being offered to players who had really succeeded in 2023. And anyway, Philly. I mean, I did them at the beginning of the year in CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Sullivan was the best player on the field against Club America in the second leg. Pulled him off in the 60th minute. And I was like, how do you explain that? How do you explain that? It's March. He's the next big thing, and he's the best player on the field. What are you resting him for? Kid's 16.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there were a number of decisions that he made, including starting like another young college super draft pick in that game. And I get that there's rotation that needs to be had and everything like that. So what I'm saying is St. Louis, I felt like it was a raw deal, and like 90% of it wasn't his fault, and I could put on Lutz Pfannenstiel and then also the external circumstances. Philly, I think your point is more valid in terms of like they've got book on him and they're able to sort of like pick it apart, on top of the fact that I think that he was just making bad decisions. I mean, like Richter comes in and Pierre starts, Kevin Sullivan starts, and they've won 2 games in a row. Now, granted, I'm not losing my mind over that because it's 2 games against, one against Seattle, which is a good win, and then the other one, I believe it was against Montreal. So I just, the Bradley Carnell thing is so interesting because I do think he's a good coach, and I do think he has a lot to bring to the table in this league because he's so good at operating in a tight budget, and that's why Philly liked him.
Yeah.
But I think that he made coaching mistakes. Like, I think he deserved to get fired from Philly. I didn't think he deserved to get fired from St. Louis.
Yeah, like I said, I thought that was more Pfannenstiel than it was Carnell. How was Liverpool at Giotis?
Oh my God, so much fun. So much fun. I mean, I'm a huge Liverpool fan, so being able to do that was very much bucket list for me in general. But like seeing the crowd and like "You'll Never Walk Alone" as they're walking out, like being able to say Dominic Soboslai's name, like it was too much. Like to be able to call Liverpool and a World Cup in a month, and I'm just like, do I stop now? This feels like a good time to just hang them up and get into finance and actually go like spend some time with my family and make some money. But yeah, overrated, right?
Yeah. So when is the boss scheduled to be due?
August 9th, so any day now.
And since this is numero uno, it's probably going to be a little early. So
late if it's early.
I thought early was your first. I thought if it was your first, it was early.
You would know better than me, right?
No, I don't. No, I have parents and pets. I do not have youngins.
Got it.
But are you and the boss? Have you mentally prepared yourself for the third? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
We don't. It's gonna be a surprise.
Okay. I was going to say, so are you mentally prepared to surrender part of your real estate to this individual that is going to be tied to you for the next 75 years?
75. I'm used to people asking me that in the 18-year category. Now that you say 75, no, I'm not.
All right.
Listen, is anybody actually ever ready to become a parent? Like I talk to people about this, especially like friends of mine who just became parents and they're like, oh, it's the greatest thing in the world, but also the most difficult thing. And I'm just like, yeah. Just one day at a time. One day at a time. That's all.
Yes. So obviously, we send our collective love to you, and may the addition be the addition that sets the Terens household completely and totally on fire in the figurative sense, not the literal sense. We don't want that. So, what are you up to now that World Cup is over and that Liverpool gave you a bucket list item? What are you up to?
I am like mildly unemployed at the moment.
You're a free agent? Yeah.
I'm a free agent, ready to work, open to work. I'm not putting that on LinkedIn, but I'm like just kind of hanging out. And this was by design this year so that, postpartum, I could be home and not be traveling like a maniac.
There you go.
So, yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out. And I think that we're just kind of going to enjoy being together. She's got 4 months of maternity leave, which is great. She works for a big company like GE and they take care of their employees, which is beautiful. So yeah, we're just kind of hanging out. And I think like next year is sort of a big year professionally, just waiting to see what rights are going to hold and everything like that. And, I've been doing some work with NWSL, which is great. Been doing some linear games for USL, which has been a lot of fun. Been able to like call a couple of AC Boise games and like the crowd that they draw there. Phenomenal.
Our man, Nate Miller, in his first season up there.
Wow. What an incredible atmosphere that is. And like the story of him becoming the coach there, and Boise kind of called him and we're just sort of like, hey, would you want to do this a few years down the line? Like we know that you're probably not going to take it now being an assistant at an MLS club. And he was like, no, I'll come over right now and I'll take a look at it. So just kind of hanging out and I'm really happy about that. There are moments where I'm watching MLS games and I'm just like, I like feel like physically I should be doing something or be somewhere, but I'm right where I need to be and looking forward to the new edition.
Fantastic. Of course, now that you're in the home studio, you realize, of course, that since you obviously have the keys to the kingdom, you know that you can come in and crash when you want to come in and just talk ish, I might need that type of reprieve once the little one is here. And if I just need to talk some soccer rather than be talking, baby wipes and diapers. Well, you can talk baby wipes and diapers on here. That's fine too. I won't have any advanced notice or any expertise, but you can still talk about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Kevin Sullivan, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. He can't drink, can't vote, but he can get into a fight with Stu Hawkins.
So can Dado Valenzuela, but he's like 20 something now at this point.
By
the way, he's not like a malicious player at all. I just found it very fascinating that he was the one that came through like that and was issuing that sort of beat down. Like if Ta Nunga did that, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But Dado Valenzuela is like a string pulling, like light footed number 10. And he's like coming in and just issuing some pain.
Yeah.
Columbus.
And I love how Brian Anunga was right up against him, so he couldn't pull the red card out. And it's like when he pulled it out, it kind of falls down, and it's like having him have Anunga back up so he can actually brandish it appropriately.
Yes.
As always, my friend, great to see you. Glad we were able to catch up about your Cup of the World experience. And yeah, if you want to come in and crash and you want to talk USL, you want to talk about whatever's on your mind, you have the keys. You know where we are, and it's always That's not me. It's you know who that is? That's probably
take a guess as to who that is.
Oh, it's Devin.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. All right, I'm gonna go take the call. Thanks,
so, say hi to Devin. We'll see you soon.
I will. See you, pal.
There he goes. Tyler Terens is going to go talk to Devin.